appreciate those of you that are here in the room watching, and we also appreciate those of you that are watching remotely. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to follow along with the meetings wherever you are. So if you're in the room here tonight, we do have our full meeting agenda as well as all of the supporting material for tonight's meeting on the table in the back. And if you're watching from somewhere else, either on cable channel 1303 or on our Town of Brighton live stream on our YouTube channel, you can go to our webpage, www.townofbrighton.org, and click through to the meeting agendas, and you can find a full agenda with all backup material, again, right there on the webpage. We're going to start with a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Wilt to lead us tonight.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight we'll be starting with our open forum. As we do at every meeting, we have an open forum giving you the opportunity to come in, ask questions, or make us aware of things, whether or not they relate to matters that are on our agenda this evening. When I get finished with these announcements, I'll call on anybody that would like to participate in the open forum. I would also note that in the event you hear the emergency alarm, please leave the room, leave the building immediately, either by the door to my right, marked with the exit sign, turn right, go down the stairs, out the back door of Town Hall and away from the building, or through either of the double doors at the rear of this room, also marked with exit signs. Go through the lobby, out the front door, down the stairs, and again, away from the building. If you're watching on cable channel 1303, the Spectrum cable channel, and you experience any difficulties with the live broadcast, either the audio or the video, please contact Spectrum at 756-5000. That's 756-5000. Now again, we're going to start with the open forum, and whether or not you're here in the room, if you're not here in the room but would like to make a comment or ask a question, please call 303-3060. That's 303-3060. Someone will take your call and your message and relay it to us. If you are deaf or hearing impaired, you may call our TDD line at 784-5205. Again, the Town Board TDD line, 784-5205, to participate in the open forum. With that, we'll start the open forum. Is there anyone that would like to address the board this evening during the open forum? Tom?
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, everyone. I'm here in my civilian clothes, but still functioning as an attorney. I just didn't go home to change. I just wanted to actually bring the board up to date from my perspective and also express just a tad bit of frustration about the state of the restrictive covenant with respect to the Daniele/Whole Foods project. Mm-hmm. You all recall that I was here several months ago, bringing you up to date at that point where we were. There had been, I think, some missteps before that and some maybe misunderstandings about who was doing what the timing was. But I think I assured you back at the end of April, beginning of May, that things were on track, that everybody was working hard to get the covenant done. And in fact, you know that it did get done because you approved it. After you approved it, the developer decided that they were not going to sign and have it recorded like they had been saying all along. All along they had said, give us the covenant, we'll sign it, we'll get it recorded. Again, as you all know, your approval resolution approving the project said that that restrictive covenant had to be recorded prior to pulling any permits except the demolition permits. That's what the resolution said. What everybody was talking about was getting it done, getting it recorded, and being done with it, and showing the board, showing the towns, showing everybody that three parties working together diligently could get something done. So we did get it approved by this board. And at that point, the developer said, well, you know, we don't want to record it. We don't want it recorded. We don't have to record it. Doesn't say it has to be recorded until we're ready to pull permits. Or strictly speaking, it says they can't pull any permits except a demo permit before that covenant is recorded. So technically, they were correct. However, again, everything had been, including from the town, really pressing everybody to get this done, which I understand, and I took that to heart, and that's what we were doing. So now the developer said, not so fast, we've decided we don't want to have it recorded till we're good and ready, and that's that. However, they offered to have it placed in escrow and held by us, by me, by my firm. I said, fine. And I said, well, would you like to draft the agreement? No, you can. So we put pen to paper and quickly drafted an escrow agreement. That escrow agreement required very technical changes to the covenant because the covenant basically stated that it was going to be recorded, basically forthwith. Shortly after it was agreed to and executed. So the covenant had to be changed to permit it to go into escrow. Drafted the escrow agreement, made the very technical modifications to the covenant, and in mid-July, circulated everything, and I got an email back from the Developers Council saying, always struggle with the language, I'm going to get somebody else to help me. We're working on some motions or something, some litigation connected to the case that I'm not involved with. And then basically said, well, I can't even tell you when we will re-engage. A few weeks went by, heard nothing, sent another email. And the only response I've gotten to that email, which I sent week before last, was from the town. The town's outside counsel, who was on vacation, still thought it important enough to answer my email, not leave me, actually, what I consider rudely, not even answered. So he had the grace, on behalf of the town, to actually send an email saying, I'm on vacation, but this is important. I'll get back and we'll talk about it. I'm waiting for counsel for the developer to do something with the escrow agreement so I can comment on it. Oh, by the way, you did change the covenant, so it's not what the town board approved. I responded to him this week, basically acknowledging that there were technical changes to the covenant, simply to permit the acquiescence and accommodation to the developer who said, we're not going to record it, but we will let it go into escrow. So that I consider a fairly sorry state of affairs. I don't blame the town for this. In fact, as I said, the only one to respond was the town's outside counsel on behalf of the town. So, but I would ask the town to use its good offices to see if we can't get this done. Regardless of whether it's recorded soon, it should be finished, it should be signed, it should be placed in escrow if it can't be recorded.
Thank you.
What's the basis of the
Chris,
escrow?
Sorry? What's the
Ken,
basis?
are you? All right.
Basis of the escrow, sure.
Okay.
The question was, what is the basis of the escrow?
So basically, Chris, we were going, I mean, the whole way along, it was going to be signed and recorded. The developer at, I'll call it the 12th hour, not even the 11th hour, after it was approved, said, I have no problem at all with the covenant, but we've decided we don't want to record it. We will, however, agree to have it go into escrow. Everybody sign, and then it's held in escrow until the first permit is about to be granted. Can't be granted before the covenant is recorded. So basically, I understood that, okay, you're about to pull a permit, let us know, we'll record the covenant, and that will permit you to pull your permit. That's the basis of the escrow, was simply to have everybody sign it and somebody to hold it in trust until there was a notice that permits were about to be issued.
And, you know, I guess all I would say is thank you for coming in, and you are correct. No permit other than the demolition permit can be issued at the present time.
Right. And I understand that, and you know Bill as a, I'll just say former transactional attorney, you're now a transactional supervisor, that there's a lot of inefficiency. We were 100%, 99% finished. And now with this kind of a delay, without even a date to re-engage, that's very inefficient. People are going to have to come back up to speed. This board's going to have to approve it again because there are, in order to accommodate the developer, there were changes made to permit it to go into escrow. The covenant hadn't reflected that before, Chris. So, right, so I know, not your fault, it's not maybe high on your agenda. However, I would urge the town to use its good offices like I have known it to use its good offices in many past projects to maybe impel some kind of some type of good faith here to, on the part of the developer, to just at least get the deal done so the town can reapprove it, go into escrow, and we're ready. And it won't be recorded until the go-ahead is given, but it'll all be done. That's what I would ask the board to do, is to see if you can figure out a way to light a fire under the developer.
And Mr. Griner, I'll just say that the town wants to see this done too. This should have been put to bed long ago. And Mr. Mancuso, our outside counsel, will continue to work with you and the developer to get it done. And if there's a way that we can bring pressure to bear to get things finalized, that's what we'll do.
On either side.
I'll have another conversation with Mr. Mancuso this week, and we'll see what buttons we can push.
Okay. As I said, I've been the recipient of the town's attention in other projects. I know you have the ability to put pressure on in a modest, fair, but effective way.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Take care.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum this evening? Hearing none, we will continue on. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. And can I have a motion to approve and file the town board meeting minutes for our meeting from August 8th?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Can I have a motion to receive and file communications this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
She beat you.
Yes.
Tonight, we have 4 items of communication. The first is from the county executive relating to the shared services panel meetings for the 2018-19 state budget. Under the most recent iteration of the state's encouragement of municipalities to come up with shared service plans on a county-wide basis. Monroe County issued a shared services plan for the 2017-2018 budget year. That included a number of proposals from the town of Brighton for potential shared services projects. Based on that was really a 2-year window that the state set up, and based on the fact that the county submitted a shared services plan last year, no further action was required from the county or from the town this year unless we voted to take further action. And in fact, when the various officials of the city, town, villages, and county convened for these 2 meetings, at the second meeting there was a vote taken not to amend the shared services plan, so that's where that remains. We have the minutes of the July Brighton Memorial Library Board meeting. We have correspondence from Jennifer Cesario, the Comptroller of Monroe County, with our sales tax receipts for the second quarter of 2018. They were up significantly. I think Paula talked about those last month, but they continue to indicate very strong sales tax revenues, the town's share of those revenues. And finally, there's correspondence from the Executive Director of the Brighton Fire District with an update of their 2011 Fire and Emergency Services study. So we have a motion to receive and file those. Any further comments? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Committee reports, Community Services, Robin?
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee met on Wednesday, August 18th, and among the items we discussed were parks issues. The parks and highway and sewer departments have been busy completing the scheduled seasonal work, and the Brighton Town Park projects have begun and should be completed by the end of the month. The sewer department is working at Buckland on the dredging in the wetland area of Buckland Park. All the approvals have been obtained to have that work done.
And it has been done.
Yes. And with regard to our recreation programs, our summer recreation programs are ending. The fall brochures are out, and registration for Brighton residents will begin on September 4th. In addition, we are looking at future summer programming in conjunction with BCSD, Brighton Central School District, as they begin their building renovations. We also had an update with regard to the Winter Farm Market. We're currently in a sort of holding pattern, waiting for final documents from our architectural firm, Insight. We had some discussion about the project as a whole, reasons why. We've had some reticence with regard to bidding. The construction costs have been very volatile, which has made bid responses cost prohibitive up till now. We had quite a lengthy discussion with regard to the Corbett's Glen Advisory Council recommendations. We have added additional signage to Corbett's Glen to enlist compliance with park rules. The signs are unfortunately continually being replaced because they are being removed by park goers. The park staff are engaging in constant education to let people know that the signs are there and why they are there. The response, however, has been mixed. Some people are respectful and some are not, and continue to enter the waterway. The Brighton Police Department enforcement has been stepped up to try to encourage compliance. Captain Desane provided a breakdown of enforcement activities within the park, and the data indicate that we're seeing a shift in the types of enforcement activities that the police are having to employ. Additional parking signage does appear to have led to a decrease in complaints by approximately half. In 2017, there were 360 parking complaints and 391 parking tickets were issued, overwhelmingly to non-residents of Brighton. Meanwhile, in 2018, and the season is not concluded, there were 124 parking complaints received and 77 parking tickets issued. Meanwhile, on the animal control enforcement front, that activity seems to have increased significantly. In 2017, we had 25 special attentions that were initiated by officers with regard to animal control, with an additional four calls through the 911 service center that were characterized as animal control in nature, for a total of 29 animal control calls overall. Meanwhile, in 2018, this year, 49 special attentions were initiated by officers with regard to animal control, and an additional 12 calls came through the 911 center that were characterized as animal control calls, for a total of 61 animal control calls overall. This would indicate that our animal control enforcement activity has doubled over the past year, while our parking enforcement has been halved. BPD directed foot patrols in the area have increased as well, from 5 directed foot patrols per week in 2017 to 14 per week in 2018, and this is a reflection of the town's increased enforcement efforts. Parking concerns seem to be improving, but animal control is worsening, and the water erosion issue is still a main concern for the Parks Department. The Corbett Glen issues were also discussed at public safety due to the amount of, and we did determine that the amount of enforcement needed would require more officers if we wanted to garner the compliance that we're looking for. Corbett Glen has become a regional attraction, which is exacerbating the erosion concerns experienced in the park. And some of the suggestions for an action plan by the Corbett Glen Advisory Committee were shared. Some of the defensive measures that they suggested in order to control erosion in the park were installing a sturdy fence to make it clear that it's a no-go area along the areas that have been most eroded, clear, well-organized signage about erosion damage, develop a Save Corbett Glen group with website, education, television publicity, etc., regulation, immediate, indefinite moratorium on dogs. And again, these are all suggestions. None of these have been adopted, but these were all suggestions made on the part of the committee. Ban food and drinks in the park, ban littering, ban smoking, which is we have done in parks in Brighton. Change the park hours to dawn till dusk, and then enforce a zero tolerance policy. So we will continue to consider the advice of the advisory council and engage the community in order to hopefully gain greater compliance with regard to the rules at Corbett Glen. We also had an Inclusion, Diversity, Equity Advisory Committee update. The membership has been, invitations for membership on the committee were extended to all 18 applicants, and we will be implementing next steps in order to get up and running for the fall. We had an update with regard to our community choice aggregation law. There was an informational webinar that I think most of the town board members took part in, and the slides from that webinar will be attached to the minutes of the Community Services Committee meeting. Yes, and then we also will be hosting or participating in a conference call on Friday, August 24th with Matt Halliday to discuss the CCA implementation. We also had an update with regard to the Beautification Committee. We've received an additional 3 or 4 applicants. The applications will be accepted through August 24th, so if you are interested, please do submit your letter of intent and resume to the town supervisor's office. Interviews will be scheduled after the deadline with town board membership. We had an update on the smoking law. The local smoking law was passed by this body, banning smoking and vaping on town property and parks. We have a $500 grant available for signage, which must be contracted out. And I just want to go through a list of upcoming events. Our homecoming for the Brighton High School will be on Saturday, September 22nd. We will have minimal road closures during that time. Our semi-annual electronics recycling and document shredding event will be held at the Brighton Highway Department, 1941 Elwyn Avenue, on Saturday, October 13th from 9 a.m. to noon. Our sensory-friendly trick-or-treating, it's hard to believe that we're talking about this already, but we are, will be on Friday, October 19th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Our Fall Family Festival will be at the Brighton Town Hall Complex at the Brighton Memorial Library on Saturday, October 20th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. We will have our Halloween Happy House at the Buckland Farmhouse on Friday, October 26th, 5 to 6 p.m., and our Haunted Grounds at the Buckland Farmhouse on Friday, October 26th, 6 to 9 p.m. And the last item I will put on people's calendar is a semi-annual DEA Pharmaceutical Take-Back Day, which will be at the Public Safety Wing of the Brighton Town Hall on Saturday, October 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Those were the items we discussed, and our next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, September 19th, 2018 at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside School. As always, members of the public are encouraged to attend. Thanks.
Thanks, Robin. Finance Administrative Services, Jason?
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, August 15th. Each of the items that were discussed in the committee will appear on tonight's agenda for further discussion. Our next meeting, and we will be going back to our regularly scheduled time since it will be September. We will meet on Tuesday, September 4th at 3:30 in the afternoon. We meet in the Stage Conference Room here at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thank you, Jason. Jim, Public Safety?
Yes, Public Safety met this past week, and at that time, we covered a number of items. The key ones, though, were the Brighton Ambulance has answered to 511 calls during the month of July for a total of 3,577 year-to-date, which is up about 8%. Brighton Fire Department had 1,560 calls year-to-date, and we're currently going through training with the air crash rescue team on water supply. And then the Brighton Public Works, they're working on Clinton and Elmont Avenue for the easements along the sidewalks there. You seem to be making pretty good progress. Bill, or Mike?
We are making progress. We have secured several easements. We're still trying to set up appointments with folks along the...
I don't know that we want to talk a lot about real estate acquisition in...
Okay.
No, it's, and then also the Brighton Police, there was a discussion there. I want to turn this over to Chris. Help me with this, Chris, on the Brighton Police and the discussion you had.
Well, we had a number of different discussions with the police department. Some focused on their work at the school, and that the pedestrian safety patrol was under discussion, as well as at my request, I was inquiring about opioid use in the town and what the experience of the police department had been. And I've heard reports by Chief Henderson about it. My concern being is to what extent the town is being impacted by opioid use and overdoses. And this is not something that's avoided our town at all, and the police department are very much involved in that. Mark, if you want to make any
Chris, it
comments.
has impacted, and unfortunately, our community has experienced deaths associated with the opioid epidemic. I talked about our involvement in the Greater Rochester Area Narcotics Enforcement Team, the heroin task force with the sheriff. I reported at a community meeting the other night our efforts. Actually, tomorrow we'll be at a location working on public awareness to a certain part of our area with hopes of trying to stem some of the opioid or the heroin sale and usage in an area, a public area in the city of Rochester.
And
And I think, I was going to say, I think it's also important, to note and to remind people. The chief has talked about it on a regular basis. Many of the property crimes, the, entering of vehicles, garages, and the like, are no doubt also tied to opiate use. And so the presence of opiates in our community used illegally impacts at a personal level for those, but also it impacts it impacts criminal activity of other kinds.
But I also engaged the chief on his perspective on enforcement at Corbett's Glen in anticipation of the following meeting with at community service. Because a large burden is going to be placed on the police department if in fact we're going to have more aggressive enforcement there.
Right. So after providing Robin with the data, I had a meeting with staff, and a number of the areas, we have taken the approach, if we get voluntary compliance, we are not making an arrest to swimmers. And so I asked my staff how we're capturing that data, and are we creating separate jobs which would be reflective in the report that I provided to you. And unfortunately, we have not been doing that. What they have been doing is capturing it under the narrative portion of the directed foot patrols. So I had heard anecdotally, I need to verify that with the data, that in one occasion there was 7 warnings in a day. The individual officer that was doing the foot patrols told me his approach. So I'll be trying to extrapolate some of that data. But, I heard, from an enforcement end on the parking is much clearer today than it was before. I think that has lent to the decrease in enforcement on our end. We're actually there proactively and as a response to calls from the neighborhood. So it's a tough area to police, to be quite candid.
And also, the chief gave us an update on special events that are upcoming. Then Commissioner Guyon talked about Torrington Drive and speed concerns there. And they did a review of the volume data with residents and enforcement to date. And more data is going to be collected on that as we proceed into the school year. Also, the point of distribution program county-wide was discussed as well by Chris Roth, the fire marshal, and he updated us on what our coordinated efforts are with the county for distributing typically medical supplies and so forth in an emergency basis.
Our next meeting would be Tuesday, September 11th at 8 o'clock in the morning in the lower level community meeting room. And it's with all of our committees. This is open to the public.
I'm just going to ask about that timing. There are a lot of community activities, many involving law enforcement and other public safety people each year on September 11th in the morning. We might want to think about rescheduling that meeting. I maybe not on the fly here, but let's talk about that further. And obviously, if there is a change, we would give notice as required.
Yep, I think you're right.
Good.
That's it for public safety. Chris, Public Works.
Public Works met on August the 7th, and it was chaired by Councilperson DePonzio. Thank you. Several residents from the Lac de Ville Village discussed some concern about the guide rail and fence and some curbs there, and also the geese droppings and fox sighting in a garage in that instance. And again, if you have any concerns about animal control, that's what you do, is you contact animal control. That includes all animals in the town. And if there is a concern about a fox being rabid or elsewhere, please do contact animal control for review. But we do live in a natural environment, and you're going to see foxes. I've seen them in my own yard, not the least bit concerned. But we have had ongoing discussions about the guide rail and fence there at Lac de Ville. Unfortunately, the cost is quite expensive. About $35,000 is what's been anticipated. And our budget is very strained. So we continue to consider that, and we hate to keep putting it off, but it is under advisement. Goose droppings are a problem along that pond, but unfortunately, they're nesting on private property, and we can't go there with our geese control program. But again, animal control can respond, but they're active creatures. We have bids being prepared for the LED lights to be installed at the Operations Center. Because that cost is more than $35,000. That has to go out to public bid. The GIGP landscape material, similarly, will also exceed that sum, and we are preparing bid documents and will be publicly bid. The Buckland Park Drainage Project is ongoing. We're pleased to hear that a permit is not required and that they hope that the work will be completed this month.
They have done the work. I've been out there. I think there may be some erosion restoration work yet to be done. But I was out there both this morning and yesterday. Interesting to see increased. There's very significant flow that wasn't there before due to all the vegetation and all the silting in the culvert. So, the problem, which was the, increasing encroachment of the wetland area, should revert to its, more natural drainage state.
Have you seen any impact on the trail yet, or water table going down, or?
Well, it's
Maybe too soon to tell.
It's early, but
yeah.
but the trail's in great condition. Throughout the summer, the trail has been very passable even after rains. The challenge is in the spring. The challenge is in the thaw, and we'll see what happens.
It's great to hear that,
then.
and thanks for identifying
But they did the work
that problem.
very quickly. It was like, 2 days of work, Mike, I think.
Yeah, they got done with it pretty quick.
Yep.
But Glen Road parking was discussed as well, and there appear to be some distances that are slightly different as referenced in the law than those measured in the field, and there has to be an amendment to the code to reflect the more accurate distances. Some 5 trees were discussed and their removal. The Monroe Avenue GIGP project is on schedule by way of update, and but there's going to be a short hiatus as the crews work on Sylvan Road. Blossom Road Sanitary Sewer Project is awaiting the delivery of the valve, and once that arrives, they expect that it will take about 2 weeks, and they hope that the valve will arrive by the end of this week. Is that?
Yep, we've got some input. Looks like they're going to be starting in September.
Excellent.
Early part of September to get that thing done. They expect to have it done by mid-September, so.
The A-frame sign issue is under review by the planning department, and we're going to see some updated or some alternative code language proposed. Also, the comprehensive plan was discussed. Various comments have been submitted to the committee, and I've seen there's some revisions that have been submitted. Ramsey Boehner has supplied those to us all and responded to our various comments as well. And there will be a public hearing on that on September 12th, 2018 as well. The next meeting will be September 4th at 9:00 a.m.
Very good, thank you. New business, Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, earlier this evening, I reviewed claims totaling $597,819.58. Notable claims include the Bethlem Service Corporation in the amount of $24,186, representing 2 HVAC units for the DPW Operations Center. Also to MVP Healthcare in the amount of $267,384.98, representing September employee and retiree medical premiums, a portion of which are reimbursed by employees.
Also to Spring Sheet Metal and Roofing in the amount of $41,030.50, representing the second payment for the siding project at the Operations Center for the Department of Public Works. The final payment of retainage is anticipated to be made once that project is completed. And then to Penny Lane Printing in the amount of $4,790.42 for the printing charges for the fall 2018 recreation brochures. I know I got mine about a week ago, so those went out. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Discussion on any of those? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye, thank you for reviewing those. I think it is important, to note that that is part of our very thorough review of the finance of the town, and that's one of the things the comptroller looks for when they're analyzing whether a town is exercising the proper oversight. And the fact that you come in and you review those reports and check the backup documentation and everything else ensures that the taxpayer money is spent as it should be. So thank
And
you.
that we get the claims list in advance of our meetings. All 5 of us receive that, and then we all have our claims sheet to sign
Yep.
or hand over
Yep.
to the town clerk at the end of the night.
Yep, exactly. I mean, our finance department does a great job, but part of that review process is right here. So thank you, and to my colleagues who have in the past done that job. Actually, why don't you do the next matter as well, Jason?
The next matter seeks approval to appropriate $8,172.93 from the Parks Department Administration Insurance Recoveries to Parks Department Buckland Park Maintenance Repair Services to repair building damage. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This does relate to some damage to the building, and funds are available in that account. Further discussion, anyone? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to authorize supervisor to execute the 2 sanitary sewer easements, one located along the front of the property at Highland Avenue at 850, and along with the front of the tax account number owned by 808 Highland with the appropriate TP, oh my goodness, TP 8584 form. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this relates to a sewer extension to property on Summit. Mike, anything you want to?
Yeah, that's correct. There's some homeowners up on Summit Drive that would like to extend the public sewer so they could service their property. The sewer will actually be extended westward along Clinton Avenue, and they'll extend the lateral up the hill to service their properties. 2 easements are required, one from the corner property, the big greenhouse at 850, and then the following property, which is actually owned by the folks that live up on Summit too.
Thank you. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Robin?
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute supplemental agreement number 5 with Fisher Associates for services related to the Highland Crossing Trail and amend the capital projects budget in the amount of $299,000. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We have correspondence outlining that and the necessary work. Mike, again, if you'd like to.
Sure. This project has been going on since 2009. We finally have all the property acquisition taken care of, it appears. It's been shipped off, all the paperwork and documentation has been shipped off to the New York State DOT for approval. We're awaiting their approval, but we're also, because the project has taken 10 years, The regulations have changed. We are now required to do some ADA improvements, some ped crossing improvements, which require some additional costs. Fisher Associates is our engineer of record, and we're just amending their agreement to accommodate the additional services and construction inspection services and some other design issues that are going to happen along the way.
And the construction inspection was always
always-
anticipated, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I guess the one thing I'd like to say, the overall cost of the project does not increase the overall cost of the project.
And of course, our share of it is a relatively small share. Most of it is funded through the grants we've received.
There's an
and then
80-20 match. Will the town pick up 20%? And of that 20%, the city will pick up a portion, the town will pick up a
Yep.
portion.
Okay, motion and a second. Further discussion, anyone? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize a budget transfer from Parks Department Frankel Park Trail Maintenance Supplies in the amount of $1,400 to Parks Department Buckland Farmhouse Maintenance Repair Service to repair internal power supply fault in the fire alarm control panel at the Buckland Farmhouse. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And funds are available in the trail account, largely because it is such a new trail, and therefore maintenance requirements are very, very minimal. So, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to approve the final generic environmental impact statement dated August 16, 2018 for Envision Brighton 2028 Comprehensive Plan. The comprehensive plan, the steering committee resolution dated August 16, 2018, and the draft Envision Brighton 2028 Comprehensive Plan dated August 14, 2018, and to set September 12, 2018 as the public hearing date for the draft Envision Brighton 2028 Comprehensive Plan. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And we are nearing the end of the development of our comprehensive plan, a very, very important project for the future of the town. It's our roadmap for future land use decisions, and in particular for future decisions that will continue to make Brighton a more sustainable community. The final generic environmental impact statement and the steering committee resolution takes this matter to the town board. We are required under the terms of our grant not only to have the steering committee take all the actions they've done, but they refer to us, and we are required to hold a public hearing. We have held 4 public information meetings, not formal hearings. The most recent one was just a couple weeks ago. And as we, I think, talked about at our last meeting, it went very well, good crowd, lots of very positive feedback, which is a tribute to your work, Mike, and Ramsey, and everybody else involved with the town, but also, and especially importantly, the great work that our volunteer plan steering committee has done. So on the 12th, we will hold that public hearing. And we have a motion and a second. Any further discussions?
I have a question. So the way this resolution is drafted, the last clause of this resolution directs the environmental review liaison officer, which would be Ramsey Boehner, to ensure that notice of this public hearing is made. I assume, Dan, that's still actually going to go through you?
As soon as you vote yes, I'm going to click send.
Okay. Very good.
And because, I think because it is a seeker-related matter, we have a combination of.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any
no,
confusion on coordination.
Ramsey and I met this afternoon to make sure it was, the wording was appropriate and it's all ready to go.
Very good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for double-checking. So we have that motion seconded. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye.
Send.
Okay, matters of the supervisor, a couple things I want to note. First, we talked a little bit earlier about the establishment of our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. As part of our ongoing diversity efforts, I want to make the community aware that I have appointed Sheila Gaddis, former town board member Sheila Gaddis, as a special advisor to the supervisor for diversity issues. Sheila is a partner at the law firm of Barclay Damon, which is one of the largest law firms in upstate New York, and their offices extend beyond upstate New York, but they're headquartered in upstate New York. Sheila is a longtime partner of that firm and is in charge of diversity issues for the firm, and diversity issues were an important part of the work she did while she was on our town board. So she will be serving in that role and working with us as we proceed with our particularly our two primary goals of the IDEA Board. One is to develop a diversity plan for Brighton, and two, as a municipality, to incorporate best practices as they relate to diversity into our governmental operations. So Sheila will be a tremendous asset to that, and I appreciate Sheila again volunteering. Sheila has done a lot of work in land use areas, particularly the Monroe Avenue charrette during her time on the board. So thank you very much for that, Sheila. Monday night, Brighton Rotary had a special meeting. The Paul Harris Award is one of the highest awards that Rotary International gives. And Monday evening, Brighton Rotary awarded the Paul Harris Fellowship to my colleague here to the left, Jim Vogel, for his many years of service to the community, way beyond what you see here when he's sitting at the table for these meetings. There was discussion in particular of the work that Jim has done for immigrants into this community, particularly from the Kosovar community, and many of the other activities you've done quietly, not waving your hand and calling attention to yourself. And that was duly noted by Rotary. And then also to our Chief of Police, Mark Henderson. Again, Mark, for the work that you have done, Rotary recognizes the concept of the Paul Harris Fellowship is living Rotary's motto of service above self in your life. And both of you have done that, and it was an honor and a pleasure to be a part of that ceremony, and I want to congratulate you both on that recognition. Very well earned. Two other things I just want to make the community aware of. Next Tuesday, August 28th, SUNY Empire State College and the Brighton Chamber of Commerce, along with Jewish Family Service, the Brighton Food Cupboard, and the American Red Cross, are going to be holding a day of caring. That event is going to be held at Empire State College at their campus at 680 Westfall Road in Brighton. There will be a blood drive, an opportunity to donate food to the Brighton Food Cupboard, donations of school supplies for the Jewish Family Service Pencils and Paper program, and also networking with members of the Brighton business and service community. So all of those are going to be going on next Tuesday, August 28th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Empire State College. Thank you to Timothy Cosgriff and everybody over at Empire State College for organizing that event. And then I also want to make the public aware that because of the ongoing work at Brighton Volunteer Ambulance, the traditional BVA open house will not be held at BVA's headquarters at the corner of Westfall and Winton this year. Instead, there will be a joint public safety day with the Rochester Fire Department at the West Henrietta Road Fire Station on September 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. Both agencies will be out there. I'm sure they'll have all of the usual bounce houses and fun and vehicles for kids of all ages to enjoy learning experiences with both of those agencies. So we appreciate BVA and the Rochester Fire Department for holding that joint event. And that's all I have at the present time. Matters of the attorney to the town. Matters of the town clerk.
Just briefly, Supervisor, must let everybody know the county, the school tax bills should be going out from the county's printer at the end of next week. So probably either Saturday the 1st, Tuesday the 4th, somewhere around there. You should see those hit mailboxes. If you normally get a bill and you get to the end of that, out in that first week of September has passed and you haven't seen one, please call my office and we'll make sure we get you a copy.
You know, Dan, I was just wondering why it was there was so much money in my bank account. Because we're coming up on September. I'm always reminded of that. Good, because I was feeling so flush, but now I'm going to, be more conservative.
Thank you, Dan. Matters of the board.
I did just want to remind everybody that our farmers market is available for residents everybody on Sundays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Brighton High School parking lot at 1150 Winton Road South. Please join us and help us celebrate our 10th anniversary. We have vendors, entertainment, food, community, and as always, fun.
Indeed, all of the above. Thank you, Robin. Any other matters of the town board?
Bill, at the risk of adding to the concerns, I know a neighbor came to me and said he was quite concerned because another neighbor had reported seeing rats in the town.
Yeah.
And I want to refer and recommend an excellent article written by Dave Andriotta in the Democrat and Chronicle, which dispels I believe, the myth that there's been some increased activity. As the county medical director was quoted as saying, there's as many rats in the county as there are people. They live here too, but
I'm not sure I remember seeing that quote in
that quote was there, but nonetheless,
well,
the reality is there are rodents in town always, and please do call animal control. That's what they're there for. And but there's no increased incidents that have been reported to us or to the general.
Yeah, let me, because I did speak with David, and the primary concern has been on the east side of the city. But you are right. There are some calls that come in. They have been relatively stable over the last several years, and what we would actually encourage people to do is to call the Monroe County Health Department, which has a rat hotline, if you will, a rat office. At the risk of making it sound like they're all a bunch of rats over there, they're not. They're actually very responsive. They've been very responsive. When people call, there's obviously, human activity is largely the cause. And interestingly enough, I guess I would have expected dumpsters, maybe at commercial facilities, to be the biggest issue. It really isn't, at least not in Brighton. Typically, it's composting. Particularly if people are composting, and please don't, there are other ways to deal with organics. Bird feeders sometimes attract rats, but composting is a major concern. So if you're composting, please keep it secure, and call that Monroe County Health
That's an even
Department
better suggestion.
line if you do see a rat. But our numbers have, you're right, they have not varied much over the last 4 years. Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people and litigation matters?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye.